Okay, so it should be hearable, the game should be hearable. I'm doing this little tutorial just to teach you the basics. So, I don't know how much you know already, so I'll explain everything so you can learn properly. It will not be a great tutorial explain because, it's the first time I explain something to someone else on this scale. Okay, so starting. So you already know how to do the focuses. You can click on them if they are available, like if they are with this light blue. Some focuses are exclusive, so you can either do one of these. But starting with Italy, you should always start with Ethiopian war logistics because it helps you in the war you're already into. Then, the first thing you need to take note is political power because you will need this for everything. You can select like political advisor that will change your national buffs to it. Someone will also have debuffs, so watch out for the red numbers and the green numbers. So with this, you'll change your mobilization, which is um, some modifiers to building factories and getting fuel, and the consumer goods, which are the number of factories that are reserved for like building chairs and tables and stuff people need to live on. Which is the research and production. So you do research faster in these categories, and it depends which one you choose. Italy has a bunch of variants, so you don't need to worry about it. And here you decide which military chief you can choose with some buffs for the first three. And this army, navy, and air force. And then these are just general high command that gives you buffs, and you can choose three of these, and that will stay here. Okay, first thing, research. You already know to do research. You can get bonuses on with the advisors and research and production team for this. You can click this to instantly go to this window. You should always start with support weapons, electrical, mechanical engineering, and then I usually go down this path until this, and then start doing this. But it's up to you, literally. This makes you research faster. This is for Navy. I don't think you have it because you don't have post DLCs. And this is for late game for the atom bomb and missiles. This is the industry part. You build and produce faster. And this is a choice, by the way. Usually this one is better. And this has the priority over every other research. You need to do this before every other research. And this is the year you should do this in. So like 37, in 37 you will be able to research this at like 150 days usually. And then I close this. And then this is the synthetic oil experiments, which are rubber and oil. You already get oil in the base game without having this, but you're not getting rubber without doing this. So always prioritize the rubber. This is the army tab I opened before to click this. This also is a high priority for your army. If you are not up the pace with the years, you will lose because the other nations will have that equipment. So always keep this up to date. Same for the support company, and those are teams you can dedicate in your army to help your units do certain things. This is for defense. This is for scouting. This is just for holding territory. This is for tanks. This is for keeping men alive. Um, this is for the equipment to lose less equipment, and this is for better cooperation. And you will need trains to transfer stuff around. Always build trains. Don't forget about it. This is for tanks tab. I will explain tanks in another short video because tanks are a mess. Usually aim at light tanks and medium tanks. You should might use light tanks. Like I never build heavy, just in the late game when I know I already won. This is for being fast and being with an armor. And the 10 cannons are used in artillery. You will need to search up artillery because it's the main thing you will do damage. You need to do this row because you will need to add this to your units and do pure soft attack, which is one type of damage you can do in this game. And the lower you go, the further the years are, the better it is. It will cost more every time you go down, by the way, for every step. This is for anti-air, and you can also build this in your states, and this for anti-tank. These are very good against tanks, and you can integrate this with your units. Now, Navy. There is a lot of stuff going on with Navy, but I really didn't get the grasp on it. I usually just do transport because you will need this to invade other countries. But you should know that having a strong navy is very important to invade other countries. Usually, uh, some marines are good, so go with torpedoes, and you also need to do both torpedoes and the submarine hull. Usually, go for this, which is very less expensive than this, and do the snorkeling, at least the basic. And then you will need destroyers to keep up with other submarines and cruiser to keep up with battleships. But you should build carriers and battleships. Not a lot of nations start with carriers, but usually the allies do. So if you want to play a game of navy, you should play America or the UK. Air is very important. You will need a good air to win battles because air can do damage to the ground. So usually go for improve small airframe and either 2 cannons or 4 heavy MG with range improvements and the best engine you can. It costs more to refit planes with another engine than to build directly with the other engines. So I suggest that when you have like old planes, just keep them there and build new ones. Don't try to change them into better planes. So I already explained this to you. This is for a radio contact and gives coordination, and you can spot better. You can spot planes on the map in a better way, and also the navy. And this is for industry, production tab, and construction tab. This is a mix of both and also counts the factory you can put in one state and how much they produce in general and how much they gain over time of production. Okay, this is the decision tab. It's different for every nation. So in Italy, since you're already at war with Ethiopia, you have the war with Ethiopia tab, the second one. And you need to complete this war in time. Otherwise, it will probably be a pain in the ass because the allies will join in, so UK and probably France usually. And if you get here, just don't hope to win this war, but like might lose also this piece of land. So as the every majority of nations, they are in the naval treaties, which is limit to build ships. You can just get out by 55 political power, and every choice in this tab will cost political power, usually, and something else. So yeah, you can do choices to improve your state in some ways, like get more war support, and I'll explain in a second what war support is, and stability. Or you can choose to convert factories, put women in the workforce, which gives you more recruitable population, which you will need in the army. This is the political tab. You can ban ideologies, and usually not the one you're starting to. So, as Italy, you cannot ban fascism, but you can ban communism, democracy, and nothing else really, because unaligned is not really a way of thinking. This is the it called economic policy, but it's really just you will steal people's land to build other factories. You have the normal choice, which will not remove stability and war support, but it will cost double this, and it can only be done once in a while. And this is just for gaining trains, which are very expensive. And this is just a choice of Italy because, uh, fashion stuff. Okay, I'll start explaining this. So this is stability. The more you're stable, the better your country is, the more political power you gain, and the more the factory gives, basically. This will be affected by going to war, and how much this is high. Your leader, your effects that you have here. Some nations start with very bad modifiers. Like Italy start with some stability, and basically just designer cost cuts because of this leader trait. Every leader has a different trait, but some leaders can gain other people's traits. Like Mussolini can get up to 7 traits, but it's just his thing because other people's it's like maximum 4. So you will start with huge debuffs in the army, as you can see. Like you have less speed, organization, and it will cost more to make doctrines. I'll explain later what doctrines are. Okay, so this is war support. This is how much your people want to go to war. The higher it is, the less it will afflict stability when you go to war. It's usually 20%. And the higher this is, the better mobilization you can get. As a country that is fascist, you can already do the war economy, but with democracies or unaligned states, you can only go up to partial mobilization, and it will always cost the same. So I always suggest going to a partial or war economy if you can. And yeah, this is our imports, basically the stuff you produce in your country. Like if you click on any state of Italy, you can see this is the research tab. Like if you go to Emilia, you can check that you are producing aluminum, and if you go like here in Campania, you can see you are producing steel, and you should watch which province does what, so you can get buffs to it. Okay. This is how many men you have in the army. You can some countries start with this, which is very bad, and it costs more the lower you go. So you need every time to take a step, otherwise it will cost very much. And some countries can reach this as maximum, but since we are fascists, we can go already to extend this conscription. And then the worse you are in the war, usually you can go this lower, and these have terrible debuffs to your state. You can see like there is a minus 40% speed to construction and output, which is terrible. But you can handle this if you're already late in the game. This is the manpower, so how many men are available to fight for you. And since we are in partial mob, we have the 2.5% of our country, which is 41 millions. And we have also non-core population, which is the countries you're not really owner of, because Italy is the owner of the main part of Italy, and then these that are colonies, which is not the main part of Italy. Every state that has this extra parts, like France has this whole part of Africa, and UK too, and also other parts around the world. These are not core states and gives less men and resources. So you will need to handle them in a different way, because they can rise up and become parts of enemy territory, or they will get their own freedom. This is the number of factories you have built. I will show you the tab to build factories later. This is just a counter, you don't really need to check this. This is fuel. You will need this to power up ships, airplanes and tanks, and also trucks. You will not need this for an infantry-based army, because you will not have any of them in that. But if you're building any one of those, you will need this, and you can produce this by building refineries, which I will show you later, and having already some petrol in your country, which will help. But right now Italy doesn't have it, so I need to check a state that has the icon. Albania usually has it. Yes, oil. Then you have logistic, so basically how many trains, trucks and convoys you need, and it's needed to expand with your army. So the more land you have, the more trains, the more trucks, and the more convoys you need. Usually also depends on the number of units you have, because the more units, the more trains and more supplies are needed. This is the convoys, which you will need to exchange stuff with other nations and resupply your soldiers. This can be sunk, so always check on this number if you have enough to do the stuff you need to do. Like I could show you when Spain started the war how to send that. I don't know how long this video is already as well. I need to get a bit fast. I will explain this in another time, but just need to know this is the building tab. Usually, you should check infrastructure and watch which number is high. So this is a 4 out of 5. You can just build a maximum of 5 infrastructures per state, and the higher it is the number, the more resources, the more it is easy to move for the units, and more factories you can build. So just aiming to build usually 5 out of 5 where you have resources, but sometimes you have a focus for that, like Italian highways in this case. Other countries that have this noticeably are Germany, which has the wait, oh Jesus Christ, it's a bug. The this it gives buffs for it, and this Hungary has it too, I think. Yes, Serenity the railroads, which gives infrastructure, and you should watch which focus does what, because this will be important, very important. Okay, so this is the air bases, basically airfields. You can do 10 per state, which means you can have 2,000 planes per state. And that's it, literally. You can build it in any state you own, and usually in your allies. When you have allies, you will have a faction eventually. It will come here. This is the place for the name. You will need to interact with other countries for that, but I will tell you about that in another time. So you need anti-air to protect from airplanes, which you can build up to the maximum of 5. The more is high, the more you are protected. Nothing really to add to it. Later you can build radar stations, which I explained before. You need this to check for airplanes and navies. And the more you have in one state. The more research also it is, the more you can build, the more it will be large. You have military factories that you will need to build equipment, and you have civilian factories that you will need to build all the stuff you see. The more civilian factories you have, the better it is usually. You will also expand the 10 of them for consumer goods. Naval dockyards are for building ships, nothing else, and repairing ships. And this can only be done on a state that has a coastline, because you cannot build ships in the middle of Germany or Czechoslovakia. This is for producing oil and rubber if you have the research enabled. If you plan this on like state that has the icon of petrol, you will gain more of oil, but you can also build them in other states. You just gain less. These are silos to keep the fuel, because you have a maximum fuel you can keep. This is for rocket sites. Don't watch them really, because they're quite useless. You just need this to bombard other states, but they are quite shitty, so don't bother building one. And the nuclear reactor is for building nukes, and that's it. You can only build one per state, and if you when you will unlock nukes, you will have a tab here that will say nukes are built in top days. Okay, this is for converting military factories to civilian and vice versa. You just need to click on the tab and you can see you can convert one military to one civilian. And if you click this and you have one available, you can convert one civilian to one military. That's it. You will not need. I don't usually use this. I'm not actually. It's actually that useful. Not for Italy, at least. For America, yes. So I'll explain it to you one day when we are playing United States and you're playing UK. Okay, so every state is connected with railways. Railways are needed to send supply hubs, so with trains, and every supply hub has a range and it gives around itself supplies to your soldiers. The further you are from a supply hub, the less your troops are equipped. You can see here, which we are quite far from this. We have less stuff, and also the worse the terrain, the less it gives around. So you will need to check which type of terrain your units are walking to. Like Italy has urban because those are cities, but like if you go in the desert, those are desertic lands, so you will have more difficult to traverse them. And also if you go too high, like you end up in Finland with forest and storms. Also, yeah, the weather is a thing, but not that important. So railways connect your hubs, and the hubs gives supplies to your soldiers. You will always need one railway directly connected to your capital, which has a star. And yeah, if you don't connect them, you will not gain supplies. You can also build um, naval bases, which will count as supply hubs, but on just the border of the countries. And you can use that as a supply hubs if you like are in the desert. It will take much less time to build another naval base than another supply hub, and you will need also to connect them with railways between each other and between other stuff. These are forts, and the more forts you have in a state, the more it will be difficult for enemy to attack it. You can get up to a maximum of 10 forts per state, but you can only choose between coastal fort and land fort. Coastal fort is only buildable on the tiles on the sea, and it defends against invasions. And that's it. And the main difference is that it costs the same thing, so it's not really that different. Okay, I think we have an old kind of worms for building stuff and equipment, so I think for today this is the video, and I will explain all this stuff later in another video at least, as I don't want you to get overwhelmed. I will publish this to YouTube so you can watch it because Discord, is a piece of shit. So yeah, and this is it.